Dead by Daylight just released their best update yet. This update fixes so many things like blood point spending, solo queue teammates going next, and map offerings. Let's talk about it. This update has so many new things, so I'm just gonna jump straight into it. First, let's talk about the going next prevention. For those of you that don't know, going next is when a survivor attempts to unhook themselves on first hook and miss 2 skill checks on a row on second hook so they can die faster and move on to the next match. This update removes the option to unhook yourself, unless of course there is a lock offering in the lobby, someone has the perk of the ante, or if the survivor has Slippery Meat, Deliverance, or Wicked. On top of that, survivors no longer can die instantly after missing 2 skill checks on a row, this during the second hook animation. And even after all of these preventions, if the game detects that you are purposefully trying to die so you can go next, it will give you a DC penalty. This only applies during the start of the game, so if you are in a situation where there's only 2 survivors left, and you give up on hook so your teammate can get hatched, you will not get punished for that. I think this change is amazing for everyone, but specifically solo queue victims. Unfortunately, a part of me knows that people that like to go next will start bringing the cheapest lock offering just so that they can move on to the next match at any point. But oh well, at least if they do it too early in the game, they will get a DC penalty. Probably. Next update. The AFK system, as you already know, when a survivor is AFK, they start getting crows on top of their head. Well, now with this update, survivors that have 3 crows on top of them will lose collision. This prevents survivors from griefing teammates by body blocking them into a corner, or killers holding survivors hostage. This doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it's pretty annoying. So I'm really happy that holding survivors hostage in a small place, or in that one room in Batham with no windows, or the gen room on the second floor of Hawkins Lab isn't a thing anymore. Third update, and probably one of the most hyped changes that we've had in a while, blood point bulk spending. Yes, you can finally spend over 1 million blood points in only a few seconds. They are adding an auto blood web option that allows you to set how many levels you want to automatically progress through. As you can see in this video, it's not super clear if 50 levels is the most you can do or if you can ride, let's say 150 for 3 prestiges. But even if 50 is the max amount, this is going to be such a nice change now that we have a blood point cap of 5 million. And especially after rank reset when you get 2 million blood points in like 2 seconds. Okay, next. Mori update. As you already know, killers can Mori the last survivor alive. Now, the option to Mori also activates when there's only 2 survivors alive in the match and one of them is already struggling on the hook. This way, killers don't have to wait until the second to last survivor gets fully sacrificed to use their Mori, and waste everyone's time. This has been a complaint ever since the yellow Mori offering was removed. Killers that wanted to use their Mori would have to wait for the survivor on hook to get taken by the entity, so that they could finally use their Mori on the last survivor. This just makes everything quicker so that everyone involved can go into the next match much faster. Alright, let's move on to map offerings. Bringing a map offering no longer guarantees a map. Now they only have a flat percentage chance of sending players to that map. We were not told what that percentage was, but in case you're wondering, no, map offerings do not stack anymore. So there is no longer a way to guarantee a map even if you have a 4 stack. On top of that, map offerings are now secret offerings, which is kind of an interesting choice. I mean, what does that mean to impossible skill check doctors that like to send themselves to Midwich? Or Scratch Mirror Myers that like to send themselves to Larry's? I knew the map offering nerf was coming, but the fact that they are now a secret offering was such an interesting choice. I don't think I'm against it, it's just like a little surprising, I guess. Alright, the next update is about spawn rules. There are some rules as to where survivors and killers can spawn in a map, and they have been adjusted so that survivors can now spawn as close together as possible. Survivors will spawn all in the same floor, this only applies to 2-story maps, and killers will no longer spawn at the center of small maps. The Shroud offerings have of course been updated to fit all of these changes, and let's move on to the next update, which is going to be very exciting for all of my console players, since we can now adjust gamma in the in-game menu. They are adding a video category to the graphics menu where you will be able to adjust how bright or how dark your game is. Now, we're moving on to custom matches. Currently, there can only be 1 spectator in customs, and this update allows it to be up to 5 people spectating a match. They are also adding hotkey inputs to quickly switch the view between specific players and cycle through the players much faster. And of course, they added controller support for all of this. Obviously, this is going to be great for tournaments. If you are familiar with Comp Dead by Daylight, you already know that tournaments are in custom matches, where the people commentating the match are spectating the players. I'm sure this will make DBD tournaments a lot smoother. Last but not least, we have some changes to Vecna, Artist, and a few perk updates. Vecna no longer has his power on cooldown when he spawns in the map, meaning you will be able to use your power as soon as the match starts, and on top of that, all of his powers are receiving a smaller cooldown. He's also receiving some small buffs in general, like his sphere moving a lot faster when you cast it and then slowing down over time, increased attack cooldown after using fly, and adjusting a few of his add-ons. Artist, on the other hand, only has add-on updates, and they didn't say which ones. The only thing that we know is that they are addressing her top and bottom performing add-ons, which probably means that they are buffing her worst add-ons and nerfing her most popular ones. My guess is that they are going after Severed Hands since it's by far her best add-on, at least in my opinion, but I guess we'll see in tomorrow's PTV. Moving on to perks, these are all the killer perks that got updated. You are looking at them on screen. They're not telling us what they did to them for some reason, just that they got updated. This looks like unpopular perks to me, so I'm guessing they're probably gonna get buffed in some way. I mean, machine learning isn't bad. It already has been buffed a couple times, and it is in a pretty good spot. Black and Dark Devotion aren't the worst perks, but they could use some buffs. They're also not that unpopular. I guess we'll see. The same goes for Survivor. Here are some Survivor perks that are getting updated. The only perk here that I would say is pretty strong already and needs no buffs is Botany Knowledge. So it's a little concerning to see it in the same list as other weaker, less popular perks, since I am almost pretty sure that these perks are getting buffed, but nothing is confirmed. You can test all of these changes in tomorrow's PTV, but the actual update with all of these changes is coming June 17th most likely. Thank you so much for watching this video, and consider subscribing for everything Dead by Daylight.